Okay, so let me pull out your paper.
Professor, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we made a slideshow presentation. Should we present that or no?
How long, how much time do you think it will take for you to present?
We can probably go through it pretty quick. It's like 10 slides though.
Okay, so you know what? When I talk about your most important finding, then you can present that. Would that be okay?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So one of you. It's when I say you can present a little bit, it's like the most important result that you can ask. Okay. Let me get. So this is a group by I have your paper. Do we owe animal happiness? Camille, Tom, Jacob, and Ben. This is your group. I like your topic, and your topic is really interesting. So I'm going to ask only challenging question because I think because your topic is interesting, I cannot ask any easy question. Okay, so this is a compliment to your work. The central of your the whole report is focused on what do we think is the animal, what kind of life they deserve, even though at the end of their lifetime they're actually going to be provide as a food in our society. But the thing is that before that happened, then what kind of things we need to provide? So here's my question. This question is a core question to ethic as well. So at least in one of the ethic theories, such as deontology, um, a lot of decisions about whether this is ethical is very clearly to be a universalization, means that this is a good thing that's actually universal to all the people or all the society they only share. For example, thou shall not murder, for example. Okay, and that is universal. There is not too many universal elements that in the ethic decision, but that is a very important element. Means that you shouldn't do something that's actually against the universalization principle. Okay, here's I'm actually going to ask you about the treatment of the animal. So when I want to see what kind of life I owe our animals, um, we're actually talking from our perspective, from the humans' perspective. We think they deserve this one, but to apply the principle of universalization to this principle, we really want to look at, for example, let's look at pig. Okay, let's look at pig. Then we want to know there's something universal that the pig will believe that that's actually a good thing for them. I mean, that's how I apply ethics because of that. So do you think it's possible to actually find out some element about universalization in terms of considering whether this is ethical or not for pigs? Because the reason I ask that is when I look at the paper, say what kind of life we owe the animal or the pigs, I really think that element is actually important, because if that element is not clear, then I don't even know what's the basic I need to provide to those pigs. So what do you think? I know this question is very controversial. I think I have my own version of the answer, but that answer is definitely not like you have a standard answer. It's a controversial answer. I want to know, what do you think?
Okay, so I think I can answer this one. So one of the things that we kind of talked about when looking into this is that like there's no real like good way to measure kind of like a maximum amount of happiness especially in the animals, like you can kind of just keep getting happier and happier, but there's not really like a obvious like maximum line that you can use to be like, oh, like this is the amount of happiness they should have. So we kind of decided to gauge it a lot along like the kind of lines of like how much stress the animals are going through, because in kind of a way like stress is a little bit kind of on the opposite side of just general happiness. And so we're thinking like that by kind of attempting to give the animals like the least stress, like the most stress-free lives possible, that would be kind of how we gauge like how much happiness they're having and how well we're treating them. Um, so yeah, so it'll probably differ a little bit with like how exactly you have to treat them. But we're thinking like so using the technology, if you can kind of lead them to have a life that makes the kind of emotional technology not register them as having much or any stress at all. That's kind of what we were thinking would be kind of our baseline for the lives that you should provide for them.
Jacob, I like your answer. What I take from you, I'm actually thinking about this purely from deontology perspective. I'm thinking about deontology perspective among the animal themselves, not from human to animal. So I think have a less stressful life, it seems to me, is a plausible ethical standard that we can apply to working. I think that's a great answer. So I want to extend what you just said, Jacob. I think should that be also that have a less stressful life for human, also as a universalization principle in terms of deontology perspective? What do you think?
I do think that would be definitely a very nice thing to also have for humans, because I think that just stress in general just is kind of becoming almost like more and more common in our lives, and it kind of just builds up more and more. I do feel like a lot of people would be much happier if we're able to kind of decrease just the level of stress for everyone. So having that as kind of not just an animal thing, but just a general living organism kind of standard, I think would be a good thing for society in general.
But will you agree? I mean, this is include everybody here, including me. That our society, the whole system, the competition, the structure, the academic system, the industry, whatever their performance improvement program, each of this is driven by economics to actually cause a lot of stress one way or the other.
Yes, I would agree with that.
No, I'm just thinking, comparing whatever we think about animal. I actually, if your project is successful, I think being a pig might be happier than being a human. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But there's nothing wrong with have a less stress, in my opinion. Okay, all right. So thank you for your answer, Jacob. I appreciate that you. I think having less stress is something which we all can agree that's important for having. Okay, so I will let you to share your screen. I'm allowing that so you can actually give a brief presentation about what you want to say. Okay.
Okay, I guess I can be the one to share screens.
Sure. Thank you.
See. Okay. Can everyone see that? Oh, wait, is that?
I can see that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
great.
cool. Yeah, so we had our thing on the technology that can detect a pig's emotional state. Yeah, so we're basically kind of focusing on technology that uses machine learning to detect like the amount of different emotional states in different animals. And like, so, because when with humans, when we look at animals, we might be able to tell a little bit, whether they're a little more on the happier side or the sad side, but we won't be able to tell exact emotions. Whereas when using different machine learning algorithms, we can kind of get some of those exact emotions out of the animals and be able to tell kind of more specifically how they're feeling. And yeah, so kind of our problem statement was, so if we have the ability to identify those emotional states in our animals, would it be unethical for different farm-owning corporations to not use that technology in order to kind of try to improve the emotional state of their animals and give them the best lives possible? And then, yeah, this is a little bit of kind of what I said in that last answer, where there's not really a limit to how happy the animal can get. Like you can keep giving it cake and it might get happier and happier, but that's not really as much what we're looking for. We're looking kind of for what will de-stress the animals and kind of use that as more of a gauge for their happiness, rather than just how many things you can give them to keep trying to make them happier.
So we first try to think about it in a utilitarian point of view, and we asked if it would actually increase the overall well-being of the farm animals. Because like one thing I thought about was if the stress level for the animals, like the bar for stress, would become lower if we lowered stress. Like in humans, like we made the toaster, right? And we used to think bread tasted really good, but now it's just kind of stale. And I wonder if animals would experience the same thing. The next, yeah. So a similar example would be like rockets. And right now, rockets, they fly to space, which we consider ethical. But maybe in the future, they'll, be like for missiles and stuff, and that would be unethical.
So we also wanted to look at this topic through deontology, and kind of the universal rule that we focused on was the intention behind using this technology, and whether the intention was to truly make the animals happier, or whether there's ulterior motives for the farmers, such as being able to sell the meat for a higher price, or if there's some sort of regulation board to avoid unwanted like fees or regulations. And so because this is all hypothetical, this technology, we also focused on a real world example, which you can see on the next slide. And this was feeding pigs alcohol. So pigs that are given like leftover Japanese liquor are shown to have less stress, which is a good outcome. But there's also the fact that the pigs become tastier from like a blind taste test. From this paper, they showed that the pigs did taste better. So there's kind of this duality of intention behind making the pigs less stressful, but also the pigs taste better, so you can probably sell them for a higher amount.
So we basically determined from utilitarianism and deontology that the using this technology would be good overall because the intentions and the well-being of the animals would be better. And what we learned was for future work was that discussing potential future technology, it can be kind of hard because of how many different factors are involved.
Okay, that's it, right? I just want to, I'm sorry that I have to respond to your last statement. In my opinion, develop this technology you study is ethical, actually. The reason I say is ethical is that you use a good example about missile versus rocket, right? It's a technology is a neutral, but it really depending on how we use it and who we actually use it. So in my opinion, that is in our society always need to be a check and balance. So the meat company that when they develop, they need to use some technology to help. But really it's important for a third party, which is actually from the consumer, that we have a way to actually assess the stressful about the meat we ate. So this is almost from a third party, not from the meat, not from the provider, but from the third party try to give a push on the economics about what we think. So without this technology, we lost that balance. So we basically have to believe what the big company they're doing. I mean, if you think about the video, if you remember, I showed you a video about the Skov from Denmark, that they actually doing this AI technology for chicken. And over there, their only way to determine whether the chicken is good is their weight. They actually try to measure whether the chicken is actually growing the right amount every month. And so they can argue that if a chicken is stressful, they won't grow as much as other chickens. So they can actually use a weight as a measurement for whether this is under stress. I think that if we let the company control that, then we actually lost a kind of independent assessment about the status of the animal. So in my mind, that this technology is definitely ethical in a way that if we don't have those, we actually really owe pigs or any animal a really serious life. That's just my conclusion when I take a look at your study. I actually, by the way, I appreciate all four of you that I learned a lot from this area. I know a little bit, but your paper inspired me to think deeper. I mean, personally, I love animal, and I just cannot settle in my heart when I saw the you guys are evil. You know what? You picked the cutest picture about a pig in your presentation. When you look at that beautiful creature and you're thinking about we're trying to murder them and then serve our selfish purpose, that's actually made me to think that really the problem, different perspective. I'm sorry to say that. Yeah. Okay. Any question for me or any response that the team want to provide?
Just going off of your takeaway from this last slide, that was kind of what we arrived at, is that the technology itself was ethical, and it was more whether or not, if the technology existed, if people weren't using it, is that unethical? Because now we have the ability to give them a better life, and what if we don't use it? And that was kind of what we arrived at, is the technology is ethical itself, and it's the ethical move to use the technology on the farms.
Right. I really think that in fact, in my mind, I feel this technology, I feel it's pretty urgent that we have to have this. Right now, all the technology, AI technology applied to the food production is only how to make food safer and cheaper. It's nothing related to the animal right. And which is actually not a balance. We need to have that technology, especially I think the focus on their stress has many. Did I actually tell you about the story about a Japanese milk company, how they produce milk? Did I say that when we met before? So it's
I don't
always.
think so.
You don't think so? Yeah. So what they did is that, you probably know when you have the dairy cow, when you take the milk, you need to go through either high temperature or low temperature process to kill all the germ. And the thing is that you need to do that in order to put it in the market. USDA regulate that. So that's why when you actually drink the milk from the supermarket, if you ever visit the real farm, you actually taste the milk directly from the cow. It tastes different. It actually smells a lot better. So the thing is that in Japan, there is a certain type of technology. They make sure the cow is really relaxed, totally stressless, and play music. and such that when their milk being squeezed out, they're not stressful. So the level of germ they have is even lower than the one that's actually coming out from that process, or similar. Basically, it's illegal. So that particular way of producing milk, they don't need to go through the whatever, the low temperature, high temperature. There are two processes that you can use to do that. And the thing is that the milk tastes better. So that is something which is always amazing, that how they look at the stress issue as well. Yeah. I mean, when you talk about, when I think Jacob talked about stress, I was considering you might got that idea from the milk example. Yeah, but apparently you got it yourself. That's great. Okay, thank you so much. So I think I should move to the second group. Would that be okay? I'm going to move the second group. Are you here? I saw Fenjing, Stuart, Kyle, and Huan Ling is here as well. Okay, all four of you, right? Okay, again, I'm actually going to ask you one single question, and then I would like one of you to actually share with me, what do you think is the most valuable, the most important finding in your paper? Okay, so so my question is very simple. So you provide you discuss two different alternatives. One is censorship. Basically is we prevent certain information from delivered to the audience, and the other one, which you prefer, you think that this is a good idea, is that you deliver the information but with some kind of annotation, including for example, warning or some extra information. So one is actually preventing something to come in. One is actually let it come in, but with some other things go together. So I want to ask you, what do you think the fundamental difference between these two approach, and what does it do to the audience, means every single one of us, in terms of the information being delivered to us? Am I asking my question clearly, or do you understand?
Could you repeat it?
Okay.
I don't think I got it too well.
Okay, so there are two approaches to deal with misinformation. One approach is filtering, censorship. So to me, censorship is like a filtering. You block certain information from flowing to the society or to the people. That's one approach, which, but in your paper, if I understand correctly, you are actually recommend the other approach as well, which is you let the information go. So meaning that you don't have censorship, but you actually add some warning, add some extra information to actually give people some idea about what kind of element of this information might be actually incorrect, or actually totally false, or with a malicious intent, or whatever. There is an extra, what I call, annotation to the content that's being delivered. Is that what you suggest in your paper? First, I want to clarify, maybe I read the wrong paper. Is that the paper? Wait a minute, I better pull out the paper. Maybe I read the wrong, I did read the wrong paper. Then
I think that's correct.
Okay. Okay, yeah, this is the paper in front of me. Kai Li, Stuart Fang, Fenjing Li, and Huan Ling Wang. Okay, yeah. So so what do you think is the difference between these two, and what do you think that this two approach do to our society differently?
I think that the difference between them is that it's a lot more transparent for the user. You're not not exactly like explicitly censorship, but although it runs into the issue of maybe builds distrust into that source. If you put a warning on it, regardless of how credible it is, it still gives the user the right to see the information and make their own decisions whether to believe in it or not. Or at least more so than explicitly just saying you can't see this because this is not true and you have to believe us. And for that, I think it creates more of a thing. It encourages like critical thinking in a society. You're able to create your own outcomes, or not outcomes, but like you're able to come to your own conclusions, like an informed conclusion through just searching for your own information rather than just blindly believing whatever you see. I think that was one of the more interesting things we also saw in our paper, is that we were looking into what made people believe in sources. So, and then the findings that we had was that people believe in things that they already would have aligned with their previous beliefs. And they also, another thing was also, they believe in corporations more than each other, no matter how, like in one of the studies, so I think someone made up a name and said that the other opinion was by people like you, and that was verbatim. And people were generally much more receptive to seeing like the corporation's name as trustworthy rather than just each other.
But it does change, right? Right now, I think we change a little bit, especially right now. I think the negative press toward particularly company like Facebook has been pretty against it. I think the Google was the target, but now I think people more shift to Facebook. That's just something which, but I think your observation is right. I agree with what you said, Stuart. Okay, all right. So that's my question. Thank you very much. So so for this group of students, do you want to talk about? I don't know whether you have a presentation, just like the first group, you want to go through, or you can actually just share with me, maybe all four of you or just one or two of you, sharing what you think that is the most valuable, most important lesson or most important finding that you have during this study.
I said mine already, so I'm not sure if they want to share. I don't know.
Yeah. Kyle, Fenjing, or Huanlin, do you want to say anything?
We have a presentation as well, but I think.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you can do your presentation.
And do the presentation first? Okay.
Yeah, sure. I mean, essentially, the question I'm asking to all of you is essentially supposed to be the key message from your presentation. Okay, but please share your screen to do your presentation. Yeah.
I got it. Yeah, this is the misinformation in the social algorithm. So the current problem right now is that since in our technology-based society, everyone relies on social media or some form of media to consume and spread information to each other. So because of that, misinformation is becoming very prolific in the right now. So we hope to answer these two questions of, is there a possible way to reliably determine if an expression is fake news or just an expression of speech, or and how can we balance between censorship in the context of an algorithm and free knowledge? So right now, this is a background information on social algorithms. So right now, social algorithms are, or in an ideal world, they would both keep a user engaged with an application to fulfill like the product side of the app, as well as give them unbiased and truthful information. However, it isn't that way right now, because a lot of corporations see these apps as, or they see people's knowledge as a means to their revenue. So it's more right now that social algorithms keep you engaged at the cost of implicitly censoring information from you.
And our approach to tackling the problem is using social algorithms to sort the Facebook posts to ensure the users get credible information on their social media pages. We will be using the social algorithm in the context of COVID-19, as there has been an increase in information during this pandemic. Our social algorithm will have guidelines to help people identify false news within the platform, and it will also contain guidelines on identifying scammers and detecting fake accounts. And next.
So a major consideration for a solution was how effective it would be at reducing misinformation. Like blocking posts doesn't allow users to read what was blocked. And it can be argued using deontology that blocking posts is unethical as it removes users' rights to decide whether they want to believe the post or not. And also users that had their post blocked would likely move to a different social media platform and create an echo chamber. And if instead, like, you mark a post as misinformation, it still allows you to read the original post. And this would be ethical under deontology, since users would have the right to decide whether they want to believe the post or not. And they would also be well informed that the post could be inaccurate. And since they're staying on the same platform, this gives like an opportunity for others to comment and possibly change their minds. And the post can always be retracted later if needed. It's been shown more effective in correcting people's knowledge of inaccurate information when they're initially given a warning that it could be inaccurate than just retraction alone, which had little to no effect. And since a social algorithm can work almost instantly, it would be an effective solution at marking a post as misinformation at the time of submission. And it would be safer for the algorithm to mark a post as misinformation than block it, since if the algorithm ever makes a mistake, other users can still read the post and appeal the misinformation warning if needed. But if it's blocked, then it could just be censoring good misinformation or good information. However, just leaving misinformation unblocked would also be detrimental, since this could clutter the post with misinformation. Since many users tend to look just through like the first few results, they might never see the accurate information. So there must be a balance between freedom of speech and censorship.
The feedback was very insightful as it helped us understand how to narrow down our topic and find a solution to our problem. The feedback mentioned that we should think about the issue of censorship by considering the information given to people and its impacts, and also suggests improving our work by balancing between freedom of expression and censorship. Besides, we should also think about the information given to people regarding how it can help them make better decisions.
So overall, we analyzed the citizenship and social algorithm in our project, and we also consider a solution to provide the spread of misinformation. As Kelly said, we consider blocking the misinformation before user post it, but it's unethical from the deontological point of view. And we found another solution, which is marking the post before with the misinformation, but users still can read the content. This solution is more ethical in the deontological and utilitarian terms. Next.
And this is the slide where this is like what we learned individually. We just included all our lines.
Oh, great,
So,
great.
yeah.
That's the answer I was looking for. This is all four of you provided here. That's
Yeah.
great. You got one line.
So what I learned the most is that freedom of expression, or what I thought the most important was that freedom of expression is not necessarily just the right to say whatever you want, but also includes the right to access any information related to the topic. Because I thought that would also form like what you would say. So
Yeah,
Okay.
I learned that deleting misinformation isn't the most effective way to deal with misinformation, and there should be a balance.
Yeah, and then the whole people rely on the internet, and they also help to spread the misinformation.
And analyze arguments using ethical theories.
Yeah, that's great. All good lesson, all four of you. That's great. So I have a extra questions because I listened to your presentation. I have a one extra question about social algorithm. So you guys focus on misinformation. I actually see social algorithm has another perspective, which is not necessarily misinformation, but is about the diversity of the information. Because if you think about social algorithm is actually propagating the information that we are interested in. So whether it's a misinformation or not, that's another story, but it's actually feeding us the information we would like to listen, because that's actually try to draw our attention. We will spend more time on the social media. But think about in our society, the information that we potentially can read covers all kind of topic, covers all kind of science, politics, social science, or maybe geographic, or environmental, or food, or animal, or health. So there are a lot of different areas of information. We currently live in United States. Do we care? Do we need to know something happened in the middle of Africa? Do we need to know what's going on in certain part of the wildfire in Australia? How do I actually access to those information if we live in a small town called Davis, California, while the social algorithm is learned from what kind of things we're interested in California fire or interested in the California social society issue. And the thing is that if we rely on social algorithm as it is today, unless we have a friend on Facebook, a close one, that actually cares about Australia or cares about Central Africa, the probability we actually get to know any important information in those areas is basically very small. In some sense, we got censorship, not censorship for misinformation, but censorship for just lack of interest from our social network. And is that good or bad? In my opinion, when I look at your presentation, I think it's not good because we lost that diversity. For example, we don't need everybody in Davis try to understand what happened in Africa, but some of us should. I mean, currently only a few people who has tie over there understand that issue. But there is very small probability for the rest of us get our heart in those areas. And so that's why when I look at this, I'm thinking, sorry, I'm a computer scientist, so I'm always thinking about the design of a social algorithm. Is the social algorithm best designed to serve our society in terms of propagating information, not just correct information, but important and diversified information about the world, important topic in all different areas, different field, versus the social algorithm is mainly for certain company to make money. If our conclusion is saying that it's actually for them to make money, then I think the whole design might be unethical from the deontology perspective. Will you agree? I probably talk too much. You have to think about it, right?
I think I do agree, but I think it also like raises some questions of Like, even if there are things that you know, can you do anything about it? And so even if you knew, does it matter?
Yeah, that's actually true, depending on whether you're looking at, say, utilitarianism, which is consequentialism, right?
Yeah.
It's a consequence. Here is my feeling. Let me actually tell you what I see as a problem for United States. Sometimes I feel in United States we are too self-centered. In the way, I'm not saying we're selfish. We're not selfish, but the information we receive is too self-centered, such that we actually miss the angle from the other culture or the other location on certain issue, which means that those information is not misinformation, but it's unpopular in US for our society, and therefore we miss even a thinking, a opportunity that we can actually be able to helping the world better in that way. We're thinking about we have the heart, we want to help others, and the thing is that we need to have a how do I say that? It's not just a few people, like a missionary. We send it to Africa, we send it to certain place to try to promote certain ideology. But the important thing is that whether the general society has shared some passion about certain area or certain issue, that we might be able to do something if we have more people aware of that problem. But that was before social algorithm. We already have that. But I'm worried that the social algorithm, because it becomes such a automated. In fact, you probably point out already in your paper, social algorithm, no matter how beautiful the name is, it is in my mind is a society-based censorship. So if you think about that, social algorithm is a filtering recommendation, but it is a censorship for certain type of information, because they censor the information they feel you are not interested or you haven't shown your passion. Yeah, that's actually my concern. Yeah. But anyway, I need to close this session and move on to the next one. Okay, thank you very much for your hard work, and I hope you have a good spring break, and hopefully I can catch up with you later. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.